one of the items that we think we can collaborate on is building number 8, which on the property is the existing white house that was converted some time ago. We've had talks about that building remaining and becoming more of a historical element where the historical artifacts and the history and whatever we can save throughout the property will be able to be restored and utilized through a historical commission and historical society. So it's also a way that we can all work together to try and preserve as much as we can of the property. The way we felt that we would like to incorporate the rest of, let me zoom out a little bit here for you, is the existing number 5, which is really abuts right on the water, would be a great opportunity for a brew pub restaurant type environment. The footprint would remain the same, obviously some significant structural repair and repairs to the facade. And we'd really like to figure out a way to work together and then with CZM on potentially a boardwalk and utilizing some of and creating more open space feel to create down the road, maybe some open events during the warmer months, food trucks potentially, just more of a area where all the residents can come together, some maybe outdoor concerts during the warmer weathers as well. So that is the game plan there. Building number 6 is going to be more of like a kayak ice cream shop that we thought would be a neat little aspect. And number 11 is more of an extension of our boardwalk here. So what we've done throughout the mixed use development here is try and create some attractions, create traffic to get down into this area again. Number 4 and number 3 are more of a retail potential event space. We're trying to iron that out as we start talking to the committees and see what the town really wants and needs. So we're trying to make that a collaborative effort. Building number 1, we've tallied here for more of a potential mixed use office and residential component to the project. So we've done our best to try and incorporate some of the needs of the town and work through those items. This building right now, the footprint wouldn't change, but as everybody sees when they drive by, there are some significant structural issues. So that is where your committee and our development team and design team are going to have to work hand in hand to really make sure that the integrity of the property and the building remain intact. However, we're going to have to work around some issues, obviously related to the conservation area there. On another page, I'm going to see. Are you guys seeing the change from the approach and vision? Did that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what we have here is more of a rendering, so that way you can see from a bird's eye view of what our vision is in the property. There's a lot of facade changes to it. However, as you can see, the only new building at this point in time is going to be next to that future historical.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought somebody asked something.
Jason, can you excuse me for a minute? Dave, will you make Mr. White a co-host so we can record?
Sure. I thought it was being recorded. Okay, hold on. Go ahead.
Thank you. That was the phone call I got. Sorry, Jason. I
No problem.
apologize for interrupting.
No worries at all. So this is kind of the bird's eye view of our vision and where we are with it. We're still at the beginning stages, and what Ken has done is really set up some introductory calls as we iron out the details with the town, which has been extremely helpful because part of this process is obtaining a lot of feedback from the committees to understand what the wants and needs of the town are and some things that may cause issues in what our vision is, so we can try and work around it at the early stages. So these are all conceptual at this time, and we look forward to the feedback and understanding where we can and can't do things and whatever obstacles are going to come in front of us and how to work together to achieve. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions or details. So I will turn the floor over to the next speaker.
Thank you. I'll ask the committee. Michael, any questions?
I'm not sure at the moment, although this was kind of throwing me at the last minute. At the moment, no. I think I'll just wait until later time. Thank you.
Okay, Kwame?
The old Tremont Nail building, is that going to be a total restore? Because that's just sitting right on it's like it's almost dilapidated at this point. So
You mean the big building, the
This building
factory?
here? Yes. Yeah, so one of the steps we will take next as we iron it out is really bringing in a structural engineer to determine what we can and can't do and what we need to do to shore these buildings up to not only make them safe, but make them, enjoyable to be around again as well. So that this building is really in the pre-construction development phase as to what the next steps are and what we can and can't do with it. Our vision is that will be the main focal point of the project. So we're working through the design on that. But yes, most certainly that building there has some structural issues. However, the intent is to try and keep this development or keep the intent of the design to remain in that historical aspect of what it once was and restoring it.
excellent.
Any, Carol, questions?
Yeah, I have a question on the building number 7. It says it's listed as a warehouse. What type of warehouse are you thinking?
So this building is right now, the town has negotiated there's a separate RFP that has gone out for that, and that at this point in time will not be included in this development here, but I know the town selectmen are working through that. So we kind of colored it a little differently because we're not sure where that's going to fall into the project here, but that will develop over time.
Okay,
my belief
Carol,
is that
that's a steel building that was recently built and used
Yes.
for storage, and it's going to be used as a somebody's going to use it. So it has no historic component to it.
Okay.
However, Carol, what our intent is to work with that group and reskin the building, if you will, so that way you're not going to be on this development and look and see a totally different looking building to an extent. There's ways that we can work with the design team to make that building feel like it belongs in the development.
Wow, because they just did the exterior of that building, the previous tenant. Totally
They
did
put on
the
a metal
exterior.
skin. They put on a metal skin
They
and
just put a metal skin on it.
we're talking about something else different.
Oh, I guess it's not their money anyway, so okay. All right. Anything else, Carol?
No, that's it.
Elissa?
I only have one thing. I think the idea of the project is great. And that's the other picture, the other screen seemed to not have a lot of parking. Is there enough parking here?
That's one thing that it's a great question. Part of the process, once we get to the next step, we'll bring in our traffic study consultants as well, and understanding how what we're presenting here is going to impact our parking. But that all evolves in the design process as we determine how many seats that we're going to propose in the restaurant, how that affects the retail over here, understanding what the warehouse building needs for parking. That will all evolve, and it's a great point, and it's something that we're cognizant about and working to resolve once we understand better what the parameters are that we can accomplish here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ron?
Yeah, just a couple of things. So what kind of a timeline, I know it's kind of really early in the stages, but what kind of a timeline would you be looking at to try to make this a reality?
As you can imagine, Ron, yesterday, but the next steps that we feel we're ironing out the details with the town, and then that will allow us to then bring in our bring our design team back in to really finalize what we want to present to your committee and then the rest of the boards to have a good understanding of it. My guess is we'll be underway from a design perspective, maybe late summer, early fall, where we can start ironing out. So my guess is our goal is to try and be back in front of the committees that be probably towards the end of the year. I think the design, once we have it ironed out, we know that we can move quick on the design with our consultants, but that's our guess. We would love to have a shovel in the ground sometime early next year if all the powers that be kind of line up. But I think what Ken has done to collaborate here and get all the committees and our vision together to iron this out early on certainly helps. So that's our goal, and we're more than happy to once COVID kind of calms down and everybody wants to get together, more than happy to sit together to go through this, so that way we can really expedite the process and it doesn't become a dragged out game plan here. Because I know the town, as you can imagine, the town wants to get this back on the tax roll, wants to get traffic and the vision kind of coming together. So the better we all work together, the quicker that can be.
Okay. And the last question here. So I know that you've got some ideas for some mixed use retail, restaurants, things like that. Now, are these all businesses that you guys would be, I guess, if you want to say, keeping in-house, or would you be looking to lease these spaces to other operators?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's our model, and that's our vision, is to lease to other operators and artisans, local and regional opportunities. And I think that it's a very attractive site. And I think with a really solid potential restaurant tenant that can attract things. Our building over here has certainly some nice retail opportunities as well. So no, our business model is not really operating.
Okay. And so a follow-up to that would be, would you be looking to give preference to, say, local people that live in the area that would be looking to do something business-wise, or would you be looking more toward, like, I don't want to say corporate companies, but like local small town people?
Yeah, we weren't attracted to the site to look at it from national tenant base. This is more of a local development that you may have a regional restaurant or somebody that has multiple locations in the Wareham Bourne area, something to that extent. But you're not going to have Starbucks. We have no interest in like a Starbucks or anything like that. If that's what you're asking, no.
Yeah, no, I'm
more of a local artisan feel to it, that can attract that tenant base. And yes, we're open to opportunities to speak with whomever about it from a local level. We just haven't ironed out those details exactly on the tenant base and the tenant fit just yet, but that's where we see it.
Okay.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you. Denise, any questions?
No, I just agree with Alyssa that it sounds like a very positive move for the town.
Yes. I am really anxious to see what you can do with that white office building. It's nothing but mold from one end to the other. And believe it or not, there's a river that runs through the cellar, which is a challenge in itself.
It's a challenge in sight. There's no shortage of water, that's for sure.
Now, Dave Pichette, is this a velocity zone? I know it's a flood zone.
I don't believe that it is, but I would have to look and just verify that, but I don't believe that it is.
So
It's
if more, sorry?
It's an A zone.
Okay. Do you think all the buildings that exist now can be saved, including the pickling, which is in the worst condition?
Which one's the pickling? Sorry, is that this
Yeah,
one?
the little one, you just went over it.
Oh, this one, yeah.
No, the little short one. Stop moving it so fast. Move it up toward the freight building. Keep going up. Stop. That's the pickling.
Yeah, this building, our intent is absolutely to rehab this building and this one.
The
This
freight
one for
building, yep.
potential retail event space, and then this one it's a pretty good sized building for a restaurant, so it probably would be subdivided. with a nice patio overlooking the water. Our challenge is most certainly the larger building, but the
Yep.
intent is to keep the design in place. Whether how much has to be rehabbed, we're just not sure. We're still in the midst of that, but our goal is to try and preserve as much as we can and add obviously a new building on the corner.
The area that you have with trees and stuff for that river walk,
Yes.
Ken, do you know if that has been a filled-in area?
That's
Because
filled
right
in.
now I know it is marsh.
Which portion of the
Where
site
the
are you talking
trees
about?
are, that whole thing.
That part of that is wetland.
Oh, I know it is. But my concern is that there is a bylaw pending that if a land has been created by filling it, you no longer need your 50-foot setback. I was wondering whether or not, can the town consider that to be filled area and therefore not subject to our 50-foot no work zone?
I think that's something we have to find out some more information on. I don't think there's an answer for that yet.
All right. But I look forward to the project with more than one hat on. Do we have sewer connection? I think we do, don't we?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, we do. There's a force main and a pump station
There's-
on site.
A pump station and a force main and, okay. And there is CPC money that's been set aside for one of the restoration of the buildings. Do you think you'll be using that?
We
Or
have
would
not
you wanna
dug in. We would never say no, but we have not dug into that just yet. We're still ironing out the details. And then back to your question regarding the sewer, we met with the sewer authority and we're going to work through as the design develops and we determine what our needs and uses are. That will evolve in the very near future. Will be one of the highest priorities we have because of demand, I think, that there is in the town on the water and sewer usage.
All right. So I've covered CPC, I've covered open space, I covered Concon. I think I got my hats all covered. I think that was it. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
If not, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And
Thank you
we
very
look
much for
forward
your
to
time.
more
Look forward to
discussions
the
in the
next
future.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Jason. Thank you,
Thank you.
Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's three there, one below that, one way below that. That cat doesn't miss us.
Sorry, I was just sent pictures of my kitty. It's been a week. All right, let's go. Let's go on our meeting, please. Alyssa, the first hearing.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for George and Carrie Barrett, care of JC Engineering, Inc., 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to construct, not reconstruct, to construct a single-family dwelling located on Assessor's Map 19, Lot 135, 4 Vern Avenue, Wareham, Mass.
I guess, Dave, you're putting up there it is. Is there somebody here to represent that project?
There's
Three of
a
us.
few of us. So Margaret
Okay.
Ishihara, attorney for George and Carrie Barrett, and Mr. Barrett, I think, is also here, and Brian Wallace from JC Engineering, who I think will probably be doing the lion's share of the talking on the project.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bichette.
Yeah, so this site location is at 4 Vern Avenue, which is in the Agawam Beach area. And the project involves the construction of a gravel road and a single-family dwelling within a coastal flood zone and an isolated wetland. A 32 by 58-foot dwelling with an attached 30 by 30-foot garage. Septic system and grading is proposed on this lot. A gravel road from Arlington Road to the lot is proposed with subsurface stormwater drainage structure. There is an isolated wetland that is not shown on the plan that exists within the roadway layout and partially onto the subject lot. This has been discussed with the project engineer and the applicant. So in my opinion, the plan does not accurately reflect the conditions there and needs to be revised to show this wetland area. It's proposed to fill or change the grade of this site by 3 to 4 feet in some places. There's a stone drainage trench proposed on what would be the edge of the new gravel road. We did late in the day receive a DEP number for this project, but the DEP comment letter did question why the wetland was not shown, because they had noticed there was wetland there as well from their information. So at this point, I would, we can listen to comments or a discussion over it, but I would recommend a continuance to get a plan that reflects the extent of the wetland and the alterations to that on the site.
Thank you. Brian, George, Margaret, anything to add?
Did you get an additional plan that, because the last one I saw showed the depression there?
What was that, George? I didn't hear you.
I didn't quite catch that myself.
I think the last plan I saw showed a depression, and I can't tell that the plan you've got up there shows it.
I don't, on this plan, which is the plan that was submitted, the only one I had got relative to the project, it does not represent any wetland boundary on there.
So if I might, this may be a little bit backwards. With regard to the area, and I believe that DEP, correct me if I'm mischaracterizing what they said, Mr. Pichette, I believe that the area that they're talking about is an area somewhat to the southwest corner of the subject lot and partly onto Vern Avenue. So I looked at this in terms of the local wetlands bylaw, and I think the relevant section of the bylaw, I believe, would be your definition of the term freshwater wetlands. And it states that the term freshwater wetland shall include without limitation those areas within which saturated or inundated conditions exist other than salt marshes, which this is not. So our position with regard to wetlands resource area, local wetlands resource area, and actually similar to the state wetlands resource area as well, that with regard to the local wetlands bylaw, that the terminology in your bylaw is not wet and land, it's wetlands. And if you look at your definition, it talks in terms of saturated or inundated conditions, not some one particular moment in time, because if you use that definition, then anything that's wet and is land becomes something that's within your jurisdiction. And I think that probably was not the intention. There is some water that pools there on occasion. At this point, I think a lot of the water may be actually coming from other development or projects in the area, particularly across Arlington Road. So our position is that there is not a regulated wetlands there under the local wetlands bylaw. And I'll let Mr. Wallace address the issue of the state regulated wetlands.
Thank you, Margaret. I hope you can hear me okay. So on the state level, we were looking at if this would be an isolated land subject to flooding.
Can you speak louder?
Sure, sorry. I'll hold the microphone a little closer.
Thank you.
Better. So on the state level, we'd be looking at if this would be an isolated land subject to flooding. And in this case, there is a low spot on the site, which we believe is what the state had reached out about. But in this case, the isolated land subject to flooding would require a 1/4 acre foot of water with an average depth of 6 inches to be held for a certain period of time, which a 1/4 acre foot of water equates to an area of around 10,000 square feet, which just looking at the site plan and the topography and just understanding the site conditions on a regular basis is just simply not possible. So on the state level, we would not believe that this is isolated land subject to flooding.
Dave, any comments on that?
Well, it may not meet the state definition for isolated land subject to flooding based on the size, but I definitely do think it is jurisdictional under the town's wetland bylaw. It clearly is a wetland area. It's got wetland vegetation, signs of saturation. And so definitely I would say that I disagree that it's something that's not jurisdictional under our bylaw. I definitely think that it is. And as I stated earlier, I do think that needs to be indicated as such.
I think I'd like to make one additional point on this as well, that with the two issues that you have, one is a 30-foot no build under your local wetlands bylaw, and unless you tell me otherwise, I don't know that there's an exception for this particular project. And the other thing would be the 100 or potentially 100-foot setback for the septic system. And the third is the area that you're talking about, if we can't cross that or do work in that because it comes under local wetlands bylaw jurisdiction. As a practical matter, we're now not going to have access to the lot. So I would just raise those points. It's under zoning, it's clearly buildable lot. So if we can't put a house there, and as a practical matter, you with the house you also need the septic system, then we really are not going to have any economically viable uses of this particular property.
Anything else? And I'll go back to the committee. Michael, questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you wait a minute, please? I want to go to my committee first, and then I'll ask the public if they have any comments.
Absolutely.
Okay, Michael?
Yeah, I had a very difficult time trying to find this project. You said it's located, well, you said it's located off of Arlington Road, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's located basically off of Arlington Road. Now whereabouts? Because I don't think it was staked, correct? Or the proposed lot, this house, or the proposed lot where this house is going to be built, is that staked or marked?
It was, but you wouldn't see it from Arlington.
Because is it deep in the woods?
It's one lot back on Vern Avenue, which was a subdivision street that wasn't constructed at the time.
Okay,
So George, sorry, wait a minute, Michael. So George, how will we know where it is to look to see what has been staked? I mean, we like to visit our sites prior to the meetings.
Yeah, if you go down Arlington, I think right when it changes to blacktop, there's.
I think George, if you and or Brian could put some staking out on Arlington Road to indicate where someone should look for the lot, I think that would solve the problem.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, that's
So
easy.
we'd be happy to do that.
Okay, Michael, anything else?
At the moment, certainly, because I'd like to see where this house is gonna be proposed, especially if there's wetlands near it. Let's just put it that way. So absolutely. Anyway, that's at least one
Okay.
off the top of my head. Go ahead.
Kwame?
I agree with Michael. I had a hard time finding the site too, so I don't have any other questions at this time.
Carol?
No questions at this time.
Yelissa?
I do think that we need to see the wetlands on the plan. I actually asked 3 people who live in Agawam area, and none of them knew where Burn Road was or Burn Ave. So it's a little difficult, so I agree with Michael. I'd like to see it also.
Okay, Ron?
I'm with everybody else. Not being able to locate the site made it difficult just to kind of see, where it's going to be. But obviously, the other thing is the isolated wetland area being shown so that we can have a full understanding of everything that we're dealing with. I think is important for this.
Okay. Denise, anything on your point?
No, everything's been covered by the other members.
Thank you. Is there anybody online in the audience who'd like to speak for or against this project or speak to
Yes.
this project? Identify yourself, please.
My name is Catherine Chambers, and I live on 130 Great Neck Road. My property abuts this project. And so I was just wondering how much it would affect when I bought this property. I was told that after my property was all wetlands and conservation, there wouldn't be any building back there. So I'm just wondering how much of an effect it would have on my property as far as when they're regrading and having any water or having any issues with my property. So that's my question.
Now, there are several maps and lots identified that abut this property. Is yours one of them?
Yes, it is.
Which one are you?
I think we were J1, I want to say. It's a very tiny slice. My property looks like a pie shape.
Okay, so that's where the arrow is right now. Map 19 J1, is that where the arrow is?
I'm looking on the map. Oh yeah, okay, there you go. Yep.
Okay,
I think it's kind of down here. Yep.
okay. So you've seen, you're able to see the particular plan right now. As to what affects you, we can't tell how much trees will be cleared between your property and this project.
Yep, so that's my concern, because I was told when I bought this property by the agent that sold it to me that it was all wetlands back there and conservation area, and there would be nobody building ever back there. So that's my concern.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. Anybody else online that would like to talk to this project?
Yes, I'm Sarah Constant. I'm the owner of 21 Arlington Road, about 19, lot 121, 122. I'm concerned because Vern is an undeveloped way right now. It does not exist. And I'm not even, I had understood it was owned by the town and by the abutter. So I'm not 100% sure how access to the site will happen. I'm also concerned about how drainage is shown. It is a wetland. It clearly shows up on the GIS map as a wetland. There's bulrush, turtles, there's wildlife back there. So I just want to raise my objections to the development because I don't think it disclosed properly the wetlands, and I don't think the application that was submitted is a true reflection of what's happening there. So I have a lot of concerns about the transparency of what's put out there.
So we will be continuing this until June 2nd, correct? And then we'll have a new plan that shows the wetlands, and we'll be discussing all those topics that you just brought up. The proponent says they will be putting in a gravel driveway in order to reach this lot. So Vern Avenue will become a gravel way if this is permitted.
How wide is the gravel way?
Well,
I'm sorry?
How wide would it be, Sandy?
Well, I don't know. I don't see it on here, but it would have to be what is
Right.
standard. George,
Yeah.
how wide does the driveway have to be?
I think the right of way for Vern is 30 feet wide. And the proposed traveled way is around 15, I think.
I see 18 feet on the plan.
Right,
Okay.
right here.
Okay. So that will be an 18-foot gravel driveway going past your property in order to reach this lot. All right, is there anybody else that wants to talk to this project? If
If I'm-
not, I will.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, I just want to, with regard to, obviously, to the staking the property so that it can be located and the commissioners can view it, certainly that's extremely reasonable request. We'd like to go back and look at the argument which the conservation agent is making that somehow we're omitting wetlands resource areas, either state or town wetlands. So I don't want to leave with the impression that we agree, for instance, that it's an isolated land subject to flooding or some other resource area, but certainly we will take back your comments and look at that for the next hearing.
Okay. Well, Margaret, will 2 weeks be sufficient time? Because if we continue to this until June 2nd, that gives you 2 weeks. Is that enough?
I think I'll defer a bit to Mr. Well, to stake the thing out and all that, is that sufficient time? I'm going to throw this over to George and Brian.
Yeah, we could certainly have the project staked out well in advance of the next meeting.
All right. If not, anything else before we ask for a continuance until June 2nd?
Well, so I want to be clear here is obviously one is being staked out, but we're also expecting them to show the isolated wetlands on a revised plan, correct?
Ron, that's part of what Miss Margaret has talked about, whether or not it is something that can or should be done based on an interpretation of a wetland bylaw. We'll see what they present to us in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Is that my understanding?
Yes, that's
Margaret?
correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to continue the hearing until June 2nd.
So move, Sandy.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Michael? Kwame?
Yes.
Carol? Elissa?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Sandy? Yes, we'll continue it until June 2nd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next hearing, please.
Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Lou and Robin Andrati, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to construct a retaining wall and parking area located on Assessor's Map 39, Lot T15, 11 Oak Hill Road, Wareham.
Thank you. Is there anybody here that will speak to this project?
Yes, Madam Chair, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering, representing the Andriottis this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette, your turn.
Okay, so again, the site is at 11 Oak Hill Road, and the project involves the construction of a retaining wall and parking area in the buffer zone to a coastal bank. Roughly 15 by 40 foot parking area is proposed up by the road by constructing a retaining wall and then backfilling behind it to create a more level parking area. The retaining wall would be approximately 3 to 4 feet high because it would vary in height. And the parking area would be a crushed stone surface parking area. Also proposed is a permeable paver patio and walkway. These are proposed within existing patio areas or in areas that are outside the 30-foot no activity zone. They are proposing an infiltration structure between the house and the new parking area to handle roof runoff from the existing dwelling. Also proposed is a layer of crushed stone between the property line and the garage, and this would be placed up to the edge of the 30-foot no activity zone to help prevent erosion on this part of the site, which does have a slope to it. Hay bales and silt fence would be placed between the work and the resource area. We did get a DEP number for this project, so I would recommend the approval of the project with the standard conditions and the added condition that the parking area and patios remain as pervious areas.
Thank you, Bob. Anything to add?
No, just thanks to Dave. We had a site meeting before we developed this plan with David. He spent the extra time to come out and meet with the Andriottis and myself and to review this ahead of time so that we could make sure that we set it up so that the work could be done in the summer season. So I appreciate the extra time, and I would answer any other questions that the commissioners might have.
Thank you. Michael?
I think I'm good with this one.
Kwame?
Yeah, just a quick question. You said, is this just regular pavers? It's not.
It's so they're concrete pavers. They're pervious that in that they're set on. There's rice stone and sand and gravel. The pavers themselves are somewhat pervious, but with the spacing in between them, it allows all the runoff to infiltrate in that area. So this lot is kind of at a low spot, and it's a short section of Oak Hill Road that they're at the low spot, and so they constantly are fighting heavy storm runoff around and between the existing garage and the house, and so this will really do a good job to control the runoff that's heading across their yard and down towards the river, and provide for a level parking area with a few more spaces.
Thank you. Carol?
No questions.
Elissa?
Lisa, no.
Thank you. Ron?
No questions.
Denise?
No questions.
I do. I had not been able to visit the site. Where is this in relationship to McDuffie?
It's more towards the boat ramp side. So a couple houses in that direction.
I think it's
Okay, didn't we recently put a house, reconstruct a house in that area too?
Yes, we did. Yep.
So, okay.
There's been
Sorry.
several projects in that stretch of Oak Hill Road over the last couple of years.
All right. Is there anybody on the call that would like to talk to this project?
Close the hearing.
I have, is that your motion?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to close the hearing in a second. All in favor, Michael? Kwame?
Yes.
Carol? Lissa?
Yes.
Ron? Sandy? Yes, the hearing is closed.
Yes.
Got to be quicker than that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to accept the project as presented.
Is standard and order of conditions plus that the parking must remain pervious?
Yes.
Okay, we have that motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, Michael?
Yes.
Kwame?
Yes.
Carol? Elissa?
Yes.
Ron? Sandy?
Yes.
Yes. Before you start the work, please see Mr. Pichette for the paperwork, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Next one, please.
Okay, the next one is A notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. Public hearing will be held on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Anthony and Ann Antonellis, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass., to construct a single-family dwelling located on Assessor's Map 14, Lot B, Antonellis Way, Old Onset Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here that will speak for this project?
Madam Chairman, Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Thank you. Dave, your turn.
Okay, so this project site is Lot B on Old Onset Road, and this project involves the construction of a single-family dwelling and associated site work in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. A 40 by 70-foot dwelling is proposed with associated grading, and the limit of work being approximately 57 feet from the edge of the wetland and 36 feet from the top of a coastal bank that's shown on the plan also. The proposed septic system, which is proposed for 8 bedrooms, is outside the buffer zone to the wetland. So I did have a question on that. Is this meant to be a 2-family dwelling with that size of a system for 8 bedrooms? So maybe we can discuss that in a moment, but also proposed is a 14-foot wide paved road access labeled as Antonellis Way. This is outside the buffer zone to the wetland. Hay bales and silt fence are proposed between the work and the resource area. We did get a DEP file number for this project. So in terms of the wetlands issues, I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions with the standard conditions for this project.
Brian, anything to add?
No, I guess just in response to Dave's query about is it a 2-bedroom? No, it's a single family. I'm not sure of the situation. I believe they have some adopted children, an extended family, but it's a single family residence.
Has the septic system been approved by the Board of Health?
It has been submitted. I'm not sure if it has received approval yet, but it meets all the standards for approval.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Michael?
Yeah, similar to the first house we looked at. I think some of us may have had a difficult time trying to find this one, although I did think I found this one. I did find 2 markings in this vicinity, though. Is this at the top of closer to Old Onset Road, or is this much further down the road, closer to the cranberry bogs where there were wetlands? Because I did notice some markings down there.
It's near the Hannah's End. The cranberry bog is behind this property, and there's a woods road. You may have seen. There's a woods road that traverses this property. You may have seen that, but the cranberry bogs are located out behind this.
I did see the cranberry bogs towards the bottom. See, because towards on this map, you see where there's like Old Onset Road and there's like Antonellis Way towards the top, and it looks like a dirt road, which I guess that's going to be the proposed paved road, correct?
No, that's a woods road right of way for the landowner behind the project that will remain. Antonelli Way will be improved as a paved roadway / driveway.
Okay, because when I drove down, what I guess right now is because when I drove down that road right now, which is a dirt road, I looked into the wooded area, and I did see markings, which I presumed was the house. And I drove all the way down the road, turned around, and I noticed down towards the cranberry bogs, there were more markings down there. So which area, and down towards that second area markings, I noticed there was also wetlands down there. So which area is the house? Is it towards where the wetlands are?
Yes,
was
it would be the forward markings, I guess, that I don't know what markings would be out further out back, but it would be the near markings about 150 feet back off of Old Onset Road. So you may have gone further into the woods onto the adjacent property down that woods road.
This house isn't going to have any impacts on wetlands whatsoever? If it's that close to wetlands down there?
Well, we're outside the 30-foot no activity zone to the coastal bank, and approximately 56 feet, as Dave mentioned, to the wetlands.
Because it did seem like it was a little close on there, but if it's mapped outside that settings, I guess. All right. Okay. Next person.
Thank you. Kwame?
No, I just had a little hard time finding. I would have to probably try to revisit, but I don't have any questions right at this time. Thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
Alyssa?
I have no questions. I could not find the project, so there you have it.
Brian, is the project is marked, right?
Not by
there were stakes put in the back for the back of the house and at the limit of clearing, the limit of work within the buffer zone.
Okay.
But
Just
not
we
off
couldn't.
of Old Onset Road.
I'm sorry.
But no staking. So for the entrance of Antonellis Way or anything like that, from what I could see.
But the construction was staked, right, Brian?
Correct. Yeah. You know, if you look at the plan, there's the dwelling to the north is labeled as number 45. So that would give you some bearings. It would be located to the right of 45 Old Onset Road. There's the Woods Road that traverses the property. Yeah, but no, we did not put a sign out at Old Onset Road indicating where it is.
Okay. Ron, any questions?
No questions at this time.
Denise?
Is Antonella's Way a road or a driveway?
Well, it hasn't been constructed yet. It has been approved by the planning board. It will be constructed, and that will be considered the frontage for this lot.
So it's a driveway then?
It's a roadway under the definition of the subdivision, but it'll function as a driveway, if you understand the slight difference, because it's only going to access this one dwelling.
They need frontage in order to have the house there. They need the frontage for Antonellis.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And that's on a different lot than the house is being built on.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anybody on the call who would like to speak to this project? I'm not hearing anybody. What would the board like to do? Do you want to approve the project or you want to continue until you can go out and see it?
I think if they could make it so that we know exactly where it is and understanding it, I think that would help us in making the best decision we can as far as the project.
It did seem like there are a lot of woods in that general area that are proposed to be constructed, plowed over rather. And like I said, it did seem pretty close to wetlands, but then again, that was just me. So
Folks, what do you want to do?
I agree with I agree with Ron. I mean, I was at least able to find it, but then again, but if the majority of the board members, if they want an extra couple weeks to go find it, then
I'm going to make a motion to continue this hearing to June 2nd.
Okay, Ron, I
have a motion.
second that.
I have a second. We'll plan to continue until June 2nd so that we can look at the property. All in favor, Michael?
Second.
No, I need approval.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, aye.
Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes, we'll continue so we can go out and take a look at the property. There has to be some way to identify that for us, Brian, that we know we're looking at the right lot. Okay,
Yeah, I'll see what I can do to mark that.
thank you. Next, please.
Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland and Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Mario Signore, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571, to construct a pier, ramp, and float located on Assessor's Map 35, Lot 1007C, 91 Edgewood Drive, Wareham, Mass. Edgewater.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Who's here to speak for this project?
Madam Chairman, it's Bob Rogers, representing GAF Engineering and the Signores this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette, your turn.
The project site is at 91 Edgewater Drive, and the project involves the construction of a pier, ramp, and float within land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, salt marsh, and coastal flood zone. The site is also within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. A 243-foot pier, ramp, and float system is proposed, and this would require the installation of 28 pilings for the structure. This particular area is fairly shallow, and the proposed float would barely be in 2 feet of water at low tide, even at that length of pier. Part of the structure would have to be constructed from the landward side and part from a floating barge. Maybe we could hear a little description of what the methodology is going to be in order to accomplish that. There was no eelgrass survey submitted as part of the application, so this would have to be taken care of before we could move forward. And this has to be done during the appropriate time of the year to do that. So that's something that has to wait until July in order to do that. The float also needs to be placed in the water at the proposed end of this structure so that everybody can see where this is going to end up out into the water. We did receive comments from the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries on this project, and they also did have concerns about the water depth, the shallow water depth, and a concern for creating turbidity during construction for the project. We have not received any comments yet from Mass Natural Heritage. We did get a DEP file number. So at this time, I would recommend a continuance of the hearing to our meeting of July 21st so that the eelgrass survey can be conducted and we can get comments from other agencies that need to comment.
Thank you. Bob?
Yes, Madam Chair. I don't disagree with anything that David has said. I took a look at when we had performed the soundings, and so it was a bit of a while ago. We do need to receive and review the comments from NHESP, and so I would certainly spend as much time as anyone would like on questions, but I would agree with David that it's appropriate to continue to the second meeting in July.
Thank you. Questions from the commissions? Michael?
Eelgrass was my only concern, so I have no problem continuing this until July. Thank you.
Thank you. Kwame?
Yeah, is there anything previously there right now, or is this new? I'm sorry.
Well, so Madam Chair, through you, so there's an existing wood pier that's there now that is going to be removed. With respect to the eelgrass, I reviewed the maps, and And there's no historical evidence of this being an area that contains eelgrass. I guess I would ask David or the commission if you received any comments from the harbor master, Mr. Buckminster. So if when we go out to, it just makes sense that when we go out to check for eelgrass again, that we could set that float for the commission, or hopefully before then. In this neighborhood, the waterfront has been used historically, and people that try and access the water as best they can. But this would be a new, more permanent licensed structure, or at least we would be seeking a 30-year Chapter 91 license for this.
Dave, we have anything from Gary?
Not at this point. I did send it to him, but he has not commented yet on it.
Okay, thank you. Carol, questions?
No questions.
Alyssa?
I just wondered, with the depth of water there and having less than 2 feet at low tide, and I don't know, it just seems like it's not the right place to put a dock,
We agree with the Division of Marine Fisheries request that we need to put a notation on the plans that the float stops are at a sufficient elevation so that the bottom of that float stays 30 inches above the substrate, because it's a shellfish area. So we think we can address their concerns with the float stop. We have 2 feet now, but it needs to be 30 inches.
How are you going to make that happen when you only got 24?
Well, with the float stops. So
it won't go, okay. Anything else, Alyssa?
No, it's going to be a whatever it's called, Chapter 91 here, and it's for one person's usage.
It's for the family. You see, there's two dwellings on the property. This pier is actually on a separate lot that's owned by the family. So it's not going to be a community pier. It's certainly not a commercial pier. It's a residential pier for family use.
Thanks.
Ron, any questions?
No, I'm going to wait for all of the other agencies to come back with comments before I make any comments.
Okay. Denise?
No questions.
My question is, what type of boats will they be expected to use this thing if they don't even have 2 feet at low tide? It wouldn't take much for a prop wash to dig big holes into that surface.
Sure. So they do some boating now, and that's the reason that they want the pier. They want access to deeper water so that they don't have issues. It's only proposing one 8x16 foot float. So whatever boats are appropriate to tie up to that. The reason I asked about Mr. Buckminster is I understand that he went to the property and he spoke with Mario Signore. And so I think I would just, rather than elaborate, I would just wait and see what Mr. Buckminster provides for comments and recommendations to the commission.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody on the call that would like to talk to this project?
Motion to continue the hearing to July 21st.
That's the motion. I heard a second. All in favor, Michael?
Second.
Yes.
Kwame?
Yes.
Carol? Alyssa?
Yes.
Ron? Sandy? Yes, we're continued until July 21st pending a eelgrass study, correct?
Correct.
And some missing
Thank you.
comments. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, next one, please.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 6:30 PM on the notice of intent for Thomas and Carol Parento, care of Cape and Islands Engineering, 800 Falmouth Road, Suite 301C, Mashpee, Mass. 02649, to upgrade the septic system located on Assessment Map 20, Lot 7, 19 over Jordan Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak to this project?
Yes, good evening. Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette?
Yes, so this project site is at 19 over Jordan Road, and the project involves upgrading a septic system in the buffer zone to a coastal bank and salt marsh, and within a coastal flood zone. An existing system is to be replaced with a new Title V nitrogen-reducing septic system. The new leach field would be approximately 84 feet from the coastal bank, and this is in the furthest location possible on the lot from the resource area. The existing septic tank would be removed and the new septic tank would be installed, and that would be approximately 27 feet from the seawall. Erosion control would be installed between the work and the resource area. I would recommend that hay bales be used for erosion control instead of the straw wattles. And I did have a question about if there's the thought that any dewatering might need to be done in order to install that new tank. There is no significant grade changes proposed. We did get a DEP file number for the project. So I didn't necessarily have any problem with the project and would recommend the approval of it with the standard conditions and then possibly some conditions for dewatering if it's anticipated that there may need to be some dewatering done. But other than that, I would recommend approval.
And hay bales instead of straw wattles?
Yes.
Mark, do you expect to have to dewater?
The round pump chamber potentially will sit about 1 foot into the groundwater. It'll be a watertight pump chamber, so there could be minimal dewatering, but the tank itself, the larger tank, is a little bit shallower, so I don't believe that that will be in the groundwater. But there is potential for some minor dewatering at the installation of that, setting that pump chamber.
Okay. Questions from commissions? Michael?
No questions.
Kwame?
No questions, thanks.
Carol?
No questions.
Lissa?
No.
Ron?
No questions.
Denise?
No questions.
Sandy, I've already asked my question. Is there anybody online that would like to speak to this project? Hearing
Motion to
none,
close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing. I heard a second. All in favor, Michael? Kwame?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Elissa? Ron? Sandy, yes, the hearing is closed.
Thank you.
I make a motion to accept the project with the standard order of conditions, using hay bales for erosion control and dewatering if necessary.
That is the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, Michael?
Yes.
Kwame?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Elissa?
Yeah.
Ron?
Yes.
Sandy? Okay, we're approved. Please, Mark, please see Mr. Bichette before you start any work so you can get your paperwork.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We have continued hearings. Cabral, please.
We had gotten a request to continue this hearing to our next meeting, which would be June 2nd.
Is there anybody online that came on here to talk to this project?
Yes, this is Jim Peterson from Alpha Survey representing the Cabrels. And David's correct. We were not able to have a monitoring plan prepared and submitted to the commission as requested, and therefore we'd like to request a continuation.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? If not, I'll take a motion to continue it until.
Motion
June
to continue the hearing to June 2nd.
Thank you. That's the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, Michael,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa, Ron, Sandy.
Yes.
We'll continue it until June 2nd.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next continue hearing is Mello.
Okay, let me just pull this plan up here. Okay, so this project site is at 9 Farrell Court. And this project originally involved the construction of a new septic system and a second floor addition to the house. In review of this project by the Board of Health, the Board of Health did not approve the expansion of the septic system for this project. So the applicant chose to eliminate that portion of the work from the project and was going to only do the second floor addition with no expansion to the footprint. They've since submitted a revised plan, which we have in front of us right now, which does propose some small additions to the footprint on the first floor. It also proposes to enclose the existing deck that you see closest to the water and turn that into a covered porch. So that is what the latest plan reflects. So there are now some footprint changes on this project. And so an order of conditions would be needed for that. So it's good that we didn't withdraw this at the last meeting. But based on the revision that's in front of us right now, I would recommend the approval of the project with the standard order of conditions because all of the work is outside the 30-foot no activity zone in terms of any new additions to the house.
Thank you. I forgot to ask if there's anybody on the line that will speak for this project. I apologize.
You mean on the
Nobody?
last one, or you mean on the last one or this one?
Mello, is there anybody
Yeah.
here representing the Mello project?
Yeah. Rick Sharon, the engineer, is on the line.
I'm sorry, I was muted, didn't realize it. Rick Sharon from Sharon Associates Engineers on behalf of Mr. Mello. As David said, this project has morphed a little bit. The last time we came in, we had agreed that the house would not exceed 2 bedrooms, but there was going to be a second floor addition. But the problem was that was going to go straight up like it was going to be straight walls as opposed to roof lines. So they've decided to change it so that they have some interesting roof lines. The second floor will have a lot of eave spaces. So that's what's reduced the second floor square footage down to 850 square feet. In addition to that, they've got that small bump out at the front for a new entry coming into the house. So essentially they feel it's going to be a better looking house, and it allows them to get a better 2-bedroom layout with this approach.
Okay, thank you. Questions on the commission? Michael?
Got one question. On this map right here in front of us, where is the 30-foot no activity zone line? So I see the 100-foot buffer zone, but I don't see the 30-foot one.
Yeah, let me go back and see if it's shown on the previous version of this.
I don't think we've had that in there, David. But if you'll notice, the nearest point of the house to the seawall is 31 feet. All right, so that point
here.
right there,
Okay.
that's 31 feet.
All right, I was just curious. Thanks.
And the stairs are just a rebuild.
Yes.
So the sonic tubes for the existing deck to be replaced with a closed-in is where the work will be done, and that's outside 30. Okay, so thanks, Michael. That was the question. Anything else?
No, I'm sorry, that's it. I'm sorry,
Kwame?
other board members.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Carol,
No questions.
Lissa,
I'm just looking at this covered porch again. Is this going to be something which is going to remain a porch, or is this something which is going to, basically, they're going to build up to the area so they can do to the second floor eventually?
The deck is proposed to be rebuilt and converted to a covered porch, but no second floor above it. The entire, the extent of second floor addition would be approximately 850 square feet.
And does that come over the deck at all in the eaves or anything like that?
The only portion of the existing deck that would be converted, you notice there's a small section there, 4 feet by 12 feet in the lower left-hand corner of the house. Right now, that's a jog in the house, and that's going to be squared off for a portion of the second floor, but that's probably going to be eave areas up above that. So that's why we don't have the full, I think the full second floor would be about 1,050, 1,060 square feet. So there's a couple hundred square feet in there that are lost under the eaves.
So I have one other question, and that is, are 5 sonotubes a lot for such a covered porch, or is that sort of the norm?
I think that's what's there existing right now.
No.
And
We're
we've
gonna put in 5 new sonotubes.
yes, we've put that because we don't know what the extent of the work's going to be. If we can do less, it may even be that we can use the sonotubes that are there. But at this point, we prefer to state the extent that it could go to in rebuilding the deck.
Thank you. I'm done, Sandy.
Sandy, you muted yourself.
I was talking to Alan about my dinner. Ron, any questions?
No questions.
Denise, any questions?
Yeah, it's an existing 2-bedroom house. They're putting on a second floor, but they're not adding bedrooms?
That's correct.
Is that what I'm understanding? What is
Yes.
that second floor going to be?
The second floor is going to be like a master bedroom suite with a new bathroom and a master bedroom. And the existing 2 bedrooms on the first floor will be combined into a single bedroom. They're not that large presently.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you. Anybody on the line that would like to speak to this project? Hearing none?
Motion to close the hearing.
Thank you. I have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second. All in favor, Michael,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Sandy. The hearing is closed.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Wait, we just closed the hearing.
Oh.
Now we have to approve the project.
Oh.
Motion to accept the project with the standard order of conditions.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Michael,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Sandy, yes. Project's approved. Please, Rick, don't start anything until you get your paperwork from Mr. Bichette, okay?
I'll try not to jump the gun again. Thank you.
The next and continued hearing is Riva.
All right, let me just get this plan pulled up here.
While you're doing that, is there anybody here to represent the project?
Yes, Madam Chairman, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering representing the Rivas this evening.
You've had a busy evening.
A good evening. Thank you.
Tell him Alan says hello.
Okay, so this site is at 10 Captain Collis Drive in the Point Independence area. And the project involves the construction of decks in the buffer zone to a coastal bank and coastal beach and within a coastal flood zone. A 14 by 20 foot deck is proposed, approximately 18 feet from the top of the coastal bank, which is a seawall. A proposed set of stairs from the deck would be 10 feet from the top of the wall. As we had talked about at the last meeting, this is within the 30-foot no activity zone. Also, it's proposed to expand an existing deck that's there, which is also within the 30-foot no activity zone. These decks would involve the installation of 13 sonotubes. Also proposed is a stairway on the side of the house to a second floor balcony, and this is outside the 30-foot no activity zone. At the last meeting, there was some discussion about the existing concrete between the grass area and the seawall, and some discussion from the applicant about removing a portion of that, but at the time that was not shown on the original plan, and so they've submitted a revised plan to reflect some of the area that they propose to remove the concrete. There was also the question of whether or not this had been submitted to the ZBA. And at the time, no application had been made to the ZBA, so I had an issue with that. We did get a DEP number for the project, so at this time, I'd like to hear from the proponent about the plan changes and then go over the issues that I had mentioned about the 30-foot no activity and the ZBA application.
Okay, Bob, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, I think there were two main reasons that we continued the last time, and one was to give commissioners the opportunity to visit the property if they hadn't already done so, and the other was that because we wanted to offer mitigation for the new work in the 30-foot no activity zone. The traditional concerns of the commission, being, runoff and protection, in this case, to the beach. The coastal bank is essentially the top of the retaining wall. And so the Rivas they were willing to remove, I think it's about 450 square feet of retaining wall and, concrete pad, and remove the stairs that were originally proposed to come from the existing wood deck. The desire to enclose that wood deck and make it a screen porch is because there's a history of melanoma in the family. And so the new deck is consistent with the sliding glass doors that are at the kitty corner, that 45-degree angle portion of the home. We would like to screen in the existing wood deck, and we've removed the stairs just so that someone can sit in that area without being in the sun. The result, in terms of the ZBA, now we have a plan that conforms with the total amount of impervious allowed in the zone. We still need to go to the ZBA due to the increase in building footprint. The property already exceeds the building footprint. So we need to go to the ZBA for that. And we want to make sure that we have a plan that we can reasonably be assured is acceptable to the commission. We are willing to file with the ZBA as soon as we can. We understood that the initial plan that was filed with the commission would most likely not be approved. And so we've, sort of put our best foot forward. and removing the amount of concrete pad. The Reavers would still like to have that section of concrete pad remain in front of the proposed deck. And all of the area underneath both the existing and the proposed deck is going to remain pervious. These are first floor decks, but they'll be 3 to 4 feet, I believe, maybe 3.5 feet above existing grade. So, although it's not going to be, promote vegetation, it is going to be pervious. I spoke to the Reavers several times about having the lawn area where the concrete pad is to be removed, having that be a quote unquote Cape Cod lawn. We like dandelions, we like clover. We want it to be a lawn similar to what is in this neighborhood. It is a neighborhood that, you don't see a lot of over fertilization, and so it's not going to be manicured. Even if it's sod that gets put down, it's going to be only maintained to the minimum amount that it needs to be. So if this is a plan that's within the realm of approval, if we get a positive feeling from it, we would file with the ZBA and ask for a continuance that's consistent with that. If the commission feels that we need to do more work in order to make this acceptable, then that's what I would be looking for feedback from the commission tonight.
Questions, Michael?
So this, I'm not sure which one to describe it here. This one that's this proposed deck, which is on our graph above where it says existing wood deck. So we are going to remove, lose some shrubbery right there, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep, the
And
shrubs would be gone.
The shrubs would be gone right there. All right. All right, and of course, then to the left on this graph, if I'm not mistaken, that is the concrete pad at the moment, correct?
Yes, sir.
That is, all right. I was just curious because I'm just trying to recall my visit there from a couple weeks ago. All right, thank you.
Kwame,
No questions. Thank you.
Carol,
You just muted, Carol.
This is going to be an enclosed porch, correct?
The new deck is going to be an open deck, and the existing deck is going to be enclosed as a screen porch with a slight expansion to match. It would match the side of the house, and it would go out a couple feet. It all needs to be reconstructed, so it just makes sense to put the new sonotubes underneath and to just line it up with where the edge of the existing concrete pad is. Even though that pad's coming out, it just kind of squares things off. And again, it's a net reduction in impervious. It's an increase in building area.
Okay.
Carol, anything else?
No further questions.
Alyssa?
Not my favorite project, I have to say. I don't know. I just sort of feel like it's like adding on from crazy to crazier, but I don't really have any questions.
Ron?
I mean, I see where they've come back with, removing the cement block, but it essentially turns to a net zero with adding the addition to the existing deck, and then screening it in and adding a roof and more roof runoff. So I really don't see any additional changes that would, make me like the project anymore. than I did the last time we met. There's no improvement. There's no added, but nothing to improve it. So those would just be my comments. So not really a question. I just don't think that I see anything that makes this any more likable than it was when we met 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. Denise, any questions?
Andy,
Yes.
could we just have a repeat from the architect or the engineer on how he looks at this as something which is an improvement over what was presented before?
Bob, want to take a shot at that?
Sure. Well, sure, Madam Chair. The obvious improvement that we've made from the last plan is the elimination of the stairs from the existing deck proposed screen porch. And we have agreed to saw cut and remove roughly 18 by 27 foot section of concrete pad and make it a lawn area. And so that, we're not changing the amount of rainfall that falls on this property or any other property. And so when we get rainfall now, it's on the deck and it runs onto that concrete pad and it goes straight to the beach. And so in the future, you're going to have a roof over a screen porch, which is going to drain onto a lawn area. It's still going to be pervious underneath that deck area. And we've brought the property into compliance from a zoning standpoint with the total amount of impervious. So it's clearly a benefit and an improvement from the plan that was originally submitted.
So that area marked with the hash lines will be grass.
Saw cut and remove 17.7
Yep.
by 27.
So that whole section there by 17.5 by 27 will be gone, and we'll have a New England lawn, including weeds.
Absolutely.
And up
Okay.
above the area where the stairs are located on this plan?
The only proposed stairs now are from the second floor balcony, which is beyond the 30-foot no touch. And from the open deck, there are stairs down, they start at the edge of concrete and they land on the concrete. And so that's basically going to be the little patio area, grilling area. And so again, if you want to stay out of the sun and you're in the screen porch, you don't need an egress outside. But we want egress for the new deck.
Thank you. Unless there's anything else?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody who would like to speak to this project on the line? Hearing none. David, your recommendation, we approve this?
No, that's not my recommendation. Again, this is a tricky one because you're talking about building new structures in the 30-foot no activity zone. And I see where they're taking out some concrete and whatnot, but it's just one that I think, in my mind, I think the commission needs to really take a closer look at and think on before just making a judgment tonight, because I
Okay.
don't think this really fits in with the bylaw the way it's proposed right now.
So the structure they're planning is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 new sonic tubes.
16,
what-
Madam- 16, Madam
16,
Chair.
sorry, I missed a couple. Oh, there they are underneath the covered porch. So that's the only disturbance that you're planning within the 30-foot no work zone is the hand digging of sonic tubes.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the only ground disturbance, other than the removal of the concrete
Oh,
deck.
I know, removing of the concrete. Yes, I know that. I'm just trying to understand what is being expected, what will be required to be done within the 30-foot no work zone. Okay. So commission, do you want to close the hearing? Or do you want to
I think
continue it?
I think at a minimum, we need to continue it to take some more time because in my opinion, without at least some more research on my end, I wouldn't vote to approve the project. So I think to give the applicant the benefit of the doubt, I think a continuation for us to think about it a little bit more might help him. Not that I think it would change my stance, but at least give me personally some more time to think through all of it.
Yeah, I was thinking about taking a trip down there and stand again. Anyway, so is that your motion to continue
My motion would be to continue, yes.
until
Second.
June 2nd? In a second, so we have a motion to continue until June 2nd. I heard a second. All in favor, Michael?
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Sandy. We are continued until June 2nd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as a point of clarification, is there any additional information that you need from us?
Anybody have any requests for additional information?
From me, I think for me, it's more about, taking another trip down there and looking over the project and getting a hands-on view with, the added information from the revised plan. But I don't think there's anything for me, additional information wise that would help me.
Okay.
Fair enough. So the
So
continuance
we have
is
the
fine.
motion and we have a second. All in favor of continuing, Michael? Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa, Ron,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes, we're continued until June 2nd. Now we have enforcement
Thank you all.
orders.
Thank
Thank you. Enforcement orders, all 5 of them. Dave, you're up.
The first one on the list is for Jill Ann Wright at 55 Edgewater Drive. And so at this particular site, there's been some landscape activity, looks like some retaining wall work within the buffer zone to the salt marsh and the coastal bank. And so that's why the notice was sent to the property owners. Also, there's a float down on the marsh, and I don't know if this is part of your property or if it's part of the neighbor's property. I couldn't distinguish that when I was there, so maybe that question could be answered as well.
Is there anybody here for this address?
Yeah, we're here.
Your names, please.
Jill Wright and Michael Wright.
Okay.
We're just, we were just a little.
What'd she ask? I'm sorry.
First, it was, I think about the landscaping out front. So did you want to speak about the landscaping?
Sure. So we haven't been here very long, but we have a stairway there that is the black wood railroad ties.
Deteriorating.
And they're rotting out. And they're, hornets and all that stuff coming out of them. So basically we had a landscape company come over and tell us that they could, what they could do. And they said they could, do a stairway and replace the wooden wall with stone. And we have a gravel driveway there now, and then we're gonna do cobblestones. And that's all in front of our house. So after my wife got stung a few times, actually after the first time, we got to do something about this. So obviously I sprayed for hornets and tried to get rid of them all. But anyways, and it just.
Also, the landscape ties were deteriorating. So
rotted and stuff like that.
Our delivery people, one of them fell and then collapsed part of the wall in falling on the landscaping ties. So we were concerned about the safety. So we decided we would
Yeah, so
look for
Replace what's there.
quotes. So we spoke to like 5 different landscaping companies about what could be done, and then we hired one.
And not one of them asked about approval to do work within the wetlands on the coastal bank. Not one of them.
Right, it's,
No.
our driveway is attached to Edgewater Drive. It's a budding Edgewater Drive in front of our house. So I don't think they really, I didn't
that
think of
we
it.
Realized
And
it.
can I ask the name of the landscape company? Because I have a feeling we're going to find them for doing the work. Who did the work for you?
Nice and Green,
And where are they out of?
Easton.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Dave, anything more?
Yeah, I think the thing is it's not that a project like this could not be done or couldn't be approved. It's just that when you're doing a project like this in that kind of proximity to wetlands, you're required to get an approval, a review and approval from the Conservation Commission. For projects that you've seen, probably if you were on the meeting, similar in nature, it's just what's required by the wetlands laws in Massachusetts. So
Okay. We were
that's really the issue. And since, we didn't know what the full extent of what was being proposed there, that's why we have to issue a notice and have you folks come in so we can go over what the proper protocol would be so you can get everything permitted correctly. So it's not to say that you can't do what you want to do. It just needs certain permitting and approval based on where you're located. And then the other question was, is that dock structure yours or is that the neighbor's?
Are you talking about in behind the house?
Yes.
So there was a dock structure that was licensed by the state that came with the house.
Okay, but it looks like it's relatively newer and there's a float sitting right on the marsh right when I was there.
Yeah, it's
He
not.
was repairing some of the top boards and the side boards of an existing dock.
Okay, so there again, that sort of thing too does require approval or review by the commission versus just going in there and doing it. So
Even
that's
though it's a
something.
licensed, even though it was licensed previously, because when our real estate, they gave us a paper of it being licensed for like 30 to 60 years or whatever. We didn't.
Yeah,
so
even if
repaired
it's licensed, if you're going to do any significant work on it, then there's a requirement to have the commission review what's being proposed so that way we're comfortable with the materials that are being used, so they're appropriate. And potentially, depending on some projects, maybe not yours, but if pilings need to be installed, then what's the methodology and things like that. So again, it's not to say that you couldn't do the things that you want to do. It's just they need to be reviewed and approved by the Conservation Commission before you do it.
Sure.
So that-
Where the pilings are and stuff like that, that's all been intact and nothing's been touched there. So we did power wash it.
Yeah, okay, no, that's okay. And putting the float on the marsh is generally a no-no. You don't want to leave that on the marsh because obviously it can damage or kill the grass on the marsh.
It's not on the marsh. We fixed it and then we pushed it back in the water. So it's not on the marsh anymore.
Okay,
The float. It's just the float part of it.
right. So Madam Chair, what I would say is that I think there needs to be an application submitted so that way this can be addressed properly and they can get things properly permitted so they can move forward with what they want to do.
Would you recommend an RDA or a notice of intent?
What I think I'd like to do is meet them there and kind of go over it with them in person, because again, I don't know the full extent of what they want to do. So once I do that, then I can make a judgment call on what they should submit and we can go from there.
Okay. So we will expect a filing of some kind after you have a meet with them. At that time, do we issue the fines for them and the contractor?
Sure, that's up to the commission as to how you want to handle that. Yep.
So yes, we'll take care of that, I think, when they come to us for approval after the fact. Is any questions, Michael?
None, thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
Questions?
Alyssa, Ron,
No questions.
Denise?
No questions.
I have nothing, so we'll wait until you meet with them and and the rights come back with us with the proper filing after the fact, okay?
Yes, and what I would say is if you could give me a call maybe tomorrow, and then we could speak and discuss setting up a time to meet.
Okay.
And then
All right.
including giving Mr. Pichette the address and number for Nice and Green in Easton.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Thank
Right.
you. Next, please.
The next one is for Russell Crean at 24 and 28 Old Glen Charlie Road. This is a site where there was some work done in the buffer zone to the wetland, which involved some vegetation removal and some cleaning up of some storm damaged trees, and also the placement of a storage container in the buffer zone to the wetland. I did meet with Mr. Crean at the site, and he kind of walked me through what was done and why some of the things were done there. And so we did discuss that. And I do think that the main issue is with respect to a couple things. The storage container is probably not in a location that we would have approved. And they're also, they have some animals that are sort of right down by the edge of the pond, which I don't think should be in that location as well. But I'll let Mr. Crean discuss some of these factors as well, based on our discussion that we had. And he's here at the meeting, but he's muted at the moment, so he needs to unmute. So he can
Russ,
speak.
if you unmute yourself and you can comment on your project. He's reaching for it.
Oh.
There you
There
go.
we go. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, baby. Here I am. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how you doing, Russ?
I'm good. We're out in the middle of the river right now, floating around.
Very good. So yeah, I think why don't you just kind of discuss the issues as far as the tree work that you had done and also the storage container.
Okay, so we'll start with the tree work. About 5 months ago or so, we had a microburst, I guess you could say. It took out 6 trees in the yard. And so I had to leave them, cut them, do what I could. And then I finally had enough money to have somebody come in and remove the, not the stumps. We let the stumps go back in the water, but remove the trees and whatever. I also showed you the picture of the tree that came down on my truck and crushed it. So we had that. And then as far as the storage unit goes, I got the storage unit because, well, my shed was crushed under the tree. So I got the storage unit. I mean, I really don't have an excuse. I got the storage unit because my shed was crushed. Now, you had mentioned that we needed to have, permission and distance from the water and this and that. And so, I don't know. Here we are, Dave. I do have a storage unit. Yes, I do. Anybody?
Well, that's okay. Dave?
Yeah, so as I said before, I don't think this is a location that we would have approved to place this. So as far as I'm concerned, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. I would say that if there's members who have not had a chance to take a ride by there, it might be something you should do. You can see it very obviously from the street. And then if you want to comment on it further, that's great. But as far as the location currently, I just don't think it's a location that would have been approved that close to the pond or close to the street, based on not conservation, but probably zoning issues. But that's a separate matter from us. But I'm just saying there's probably going to be some problems with regards to that as well. And the other issue was having the goats basically right at the edge of the pond is not a good idea as far as environmentally. So I would recommend those should be moved back away from the edge of the water.
Now, can I speak?
Sure.
to it?
Sure.
Oh, okay. So, okay, let me go back to the storage unit thing. So I talked to George the other day, the building inspector. Now I have a lot that is grandfathered with a foundation on it. And so because it's a grandfathered foundation, I could remove all the brush, trees, and everything that's grown up in it, put a structure up. But I said all I wanted to do was to keep my storage unit. So we have that. I mean, I have a 30 by 30, you know, it was a house that burnt down. So I asked George, you know, what can I do? He said, you can apply for a permit. It's not a dwelling. It's like a garage. And so I could either put up a 30 by 30 garage or keep my 20-foot long, you know, storage unit. So that's the storage thing. Now, as far as the goats go, I know the goats, they do what they do, and I try to explain to you that when I brought up the goats to my wife, she immediately called the Wampanoag Tribal Council in Cedric Cromwell and spoke to him because we do have Native American children, and I want to put the goats in the right place. I mean, they're not doing anything to destroy the lake. I mean, I'm on the lake right now, and I could show you stuff, you'd be amazed. So, you know, we spoke to Cedric, and he said, you know, the council will come in and speak. I just want to make this as simple as possible because it you know, just to be as simple as possible. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, and so as far as that note goes, would it be a problem to just simply move them further away from the pond? I guess that's really what it boils down to.
Okay. No, that's no problem. I completely can do that.
Okay.
I really can.
Okay.
And I'll just get a little path to go in because they drink the water, but I can move them up to the street. I mean, they'll be almost 100 feet from the water's edge. I just try to keep the Wampanoag thing out of it because I'm new to this. I don't understand it, but when they get involved, I know there's just a whole lot of holy moly. And I don't want holy moly.
I think the concern was that they were so close to the water that their waste would run into the water. So just move them as far away as you possibly can.
Okay. No, I understand. I can do that. I'll move them back. And again, as far as the storage unit goes, you know, I'll talk to George again next week and find out what I can do. I don't want to build a structure. I really don't. I don't want neighbors. I just bought that lot because it was empty, and I thought, you know, my shed got crushed. I'll just put this storage unit there, and I can take up the space, and I'm done, and I'm out of it. You know, because Dave and I met a couple of years ago, so I haven't done anything. I've got geese eating my lawn. You know, there's all sorts of stuff going on. I just try to avoid any kind of anything. Don't you think?
So how about if you meet with and talk to the building inspector and I'll talk to him as well, and that way this can be looked into, and then we can speak about it down the road once we have some answers from him.
Yeah, I will. I'll give him a call on Monday, it's Thursday. I'll give him a call tomorrow and see if we can, you know, have him come by and you know, see what he says as far as location, whatever goes, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Any questions from the commissions? Michael?
Are goats the only animals we're talking about, or are there any other ones? Just out of curiosity.
No, I got 6 kids.
I guess that's okay, but any other? Dave mentioned animals. I was just curious.
Yeah,
you got one more than me.
I got 2 dogs.
All right.
2 dogs and a whole lot of Canadian geese, and that's pretty pretty much all we have.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Carol. Carol, you're muted. Any questions?
No
There you
asking me.
Alyssa,
Can anybody see us on the boat right now?
You're getting kind of dark now.
Darker and darker.
Getting dark.
Alyssa, anything?
No.
Ron,
Nothing from me.
Denise,
Thing from me.
Sandy, Mr. Bichette will speak to this project when he comes back with the building inspector, etc. Okay,
Very
I guess
good.
we're ready for the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, I'll talk. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Have a good night.
You too.
Oh, 2 Burgess Point Road, we've been there before.
Yes.
Is there
2 Burgess-
anybody here for this project?
Yes.
For this enforcement?
Yes, I'm the resident, Edmund Carlton.
Thank you.
Yeah, so at this site, along the edge of the pond, there was an area that was sort of expanded upon in terms of a cleared area to put some benches and whatnot. I happened to notice it, so I contacted the owner and I met with them there yesterday. And we kind of went over the situation. And so it was just an area that they wanted to sort of have some benches and whatnot along the edge of the pond. I explained that that wasn't an area that necessarily could be left that way because of the 30-foot no activity zone and the way the property was originally approved. And so, Mr. Carlton has agreed to remove the bench from the area and put some plantings back in that small area. We're not talking about a huge space, maybe 12 or 15 by 20, something like that. So that's the nature of the issue and why Mr. Carlton was asked to join the meeting tonight.
Edmund, any comments?
No, I did get a chance to, walk the property with Dave, and we're totally in agreement. Actually made some phone calls already to plant some blueberry plants. I was thinking of planting about a dozen, and from what I understand, the soil's compatible to pH, and it's sort of a natural plant for the area. So I'm definitely going to replant those.
Okay. Dave, are we looking for a filing, but this discussion is sufficient with just the replanting of the few bushes?
I think this is sufficient. Mr. Carlton has agreed to do that, and it is a very small area that we're talking about. I had sent the notice mainly because I wasn't sure, what the proposed thoughts might be in terms of continuing this. So I just wanted to put sort of a stopgap on it. But he said they hadn't planned on doing anything more anyway. But obviously, I wouldn't have known that until I contacted him. So I think with the plantings that he's proposing, I'll follow up on that and take a look at it once it's been done. But I think that should cover it because that's pretty much what we would have recommended or required anyway. So I think that would be fine.
Okay.
I think part of it was a side effect from COVID-19. I had a lot of extended family living here for like 6 months. And I guess there was a little more activity than we expected, and that's the coolest area on the property on a hot day. So, but I have a better understanding now what the requirements are and the limitations.
Michael, any questions?
Questions, thank you.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Carol,
No questions.
Alyssa, Ron,
The only
Denise?
thing that I have, can you hear me?
yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so the only thing I have is, are we looking at a fine on this, or what are we looking at it from a commission standpoint?
There should be some type of fine. I would think something in the realm of $100 for doing work without approval.
I would,
It's not
I could agree with that based on the scope of what was done. It wasn't, he didn't tear the whole, pond apart. So I could agree with that.
Okay. Denise, any questions?
No, thank you.
This is just that Dave will follow up, check that the blueberry bushes have been planted, and I think I'll need approval from the board to do a fine of $100.
Is that,
Someone needs to make a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion for the fine of $100 for the unauthorized work.
I'll second that.
I heard a second. All in favor, Michael,
Yes.
Kwame, Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa, Ron,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Edmund.
And I agree. I agree.
All right. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, so maybe give you a little advice on the planting. So maybe I'll talk to you when you get a chance.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Thank
Yep.
you, everybody.
Thanks.
Good night.
Night.
Next one, please.
The next one is for Lawrence Pink, which owns the property at 33 East Boulevard. There was some activity there that involved some alteration of some vegetation. So again, I thought I should send out a notice to address that before it got further along. I have not heard back from anybody on that, so I don't know if we have anybody on the line for that property.
Is there anybody here for 33 East Boulevard? I'm hearing none, so I guess.
So I would recommend that we continue this so that I can try to make contact with this owner. This did go out a little bit later in the game, so I would like the opportunity to contact that owner and see if they can attend the next meeting.
Thank you. Yes, please. And next one, 10 Wareham Lake Shores. Anybody here for this enforcement order?
This property owner did contact me and stated that he would not be able to attend the meeting tonight and requested that we continue this to the next meeting. I met with him at his property. He's an elderly gentleman and he's trying to get someone to help him to deal with being on a Zoom meeting, which he doesn't deal with. So he had asked for this to be put off till the next meeting. So I'm okay with that. But what this involved was some alterations along the edge of Glen Charlie Pond, which involved the cutting of vegetation, the placement of a small platform sort of on the edge of the water, some fencing. There's a shed that's been built sort of pretty close to the water. So there's a few items that if you drive by there, you can see it right from the street. And again, the address is 10 Wareham Lakeshore Drive. So if you're out taking a ride, just swing through and you'll see it very obviously from the road because it's not a big lot. And that's it for the enforcement issues tonight.
Okay. You have 2 certification of compliances?
Yes. The first one is for request for a partial certificate of compliance for the same property we looked at earlier for the septic repair, which is 19 Over Jordan Road. I'm going to just pull up this plan real quick so everybody can see what we're talking about here.
Wasn't part of this because the wall from his neighbor fell onto this guy's property?
Yes.
So that's the same topic.
Yep. Let me just pull this up here so everybody can see it. So if you're looking at this plan here, there was an order of conditions issued for the reconstruction of this entire wall here. And that was submitted by this property owner right here. But part of the wall, as you extend around the corner, the very last edge spills over onto this lot right here, which is 19 over Jordan Road, which is the one we just approved the septic repair on earlier. So they're in the process of trying to sell this property, and because of this piece of the project that fell onto their land, the order of conditions for this project is attached also to their property. So what they're requesting is for the commission to issue a partial certificate of compliance just for their little piece of this project so that they can sell the property and have the paperwork in order. So that's what this request is for. Typically, the commission hasn't really done partial certificates of compliances. We've always wanted to get the whole project dealt with at once, because it runs into potential issues if you have multiple certificate of compliances, possibly for one project, and so on and so forth. It just becomes a paperwork headache. So it's not something the commission typically has done in practice. So this is the issue that the commission has to look at and decide if you feel like it's appropriate for this particular situation. It is something that is legal to do. You can issue a partial certificate of compliance for just this property, and then this owner would have to come in at some point when they wanted to get it and get their certificate of compliance for their own property. So that's the issue at hand that we're being asked to address.
All right, did we do this like 2 weeks ago?
We discussed putting it on the agenda 2 weeks ago, and now
Okay.
it's on the agenda.
That was on the agenda. So the question is whether or not we will approve a partial order of conditions to allow 19 over Jordan Road to have the documentation they need in order to sell the house.
A partial
property.
certificate of compliance,
Yes, a partial, what did I say?
order of
Partial.
conditions.
Oh, partial, yeah, certification of compliance for the property over at 19 over Jordan. Any comments from the board, Michael?
I agree. This seems like a potential headache, to be honest.
So what do you say, yes or no? I mean, if we don't do it, when will 21 come in for an order of compliance?
Well, it runs into a tricky thing, because if 21 doesn't really want to deal with it at this point in time, they're not per se required or forced to. They may say, no, I'm not going to do it right now. I don't want to deal with it. But then that leaves the other property owner sort of in a tough scenario. So they would sort of be, if they really want the certificate and the commission wanted to see the whole project addressed at once, and they may have to pay for the whole certificate of compliance review, and that's what they would be left with. So that's the dilemma we have in this particular case.
So I will ask everybody, do we approve a partial certification of compliance? Michael?
I'm kind of on the fence on this one. I don't know, to be honest with you. This seems a little too tricky.
Kwame?
I'd say can we just, like a special, like almost what they do in zoning, like a special permit or something? I say yes to it.
Yeah, I think that's what essentially you'd be doing if you issued the partial. I mean, in wetlands permitting, it is permittable to do that. It's just that sometimes some commissions don't really like to deal with that because of the problems that it can result in. This case is a little bit different. It's just a very small portion of the site. So while I don't like doing this, to be honest with you, in this particular case, it might make sense just to be able to clean up this issue for this property owner,
Yeah.
Okay. So Kwame, your answer is yes on a
Yes.
partial?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Elissa?
Yes.
Ron,
I'm not going to hold somebody up from being able to sell their property, so I would say yes.
Sandy, yes. I guess that's it, Mr. Bichette. You have to do a partial.
So if we could just have that formally as a motion to do that.
I make a motion to accept a partial certificate of compliance for 19 over Jordan Road.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Michael,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Sandy, yes. All right, next one, please.
The next one is for a property at 91 Maple Springs Road. Lisa Bindis is the applicant or property owner. This was an order of conditions to construct a dock at the site. They never ended up doing the project, so the order has now expired, and they're just looking to clean up the paperwork as well because they're in the process of selling the property. So I would recommend the issuance of a certificate checking off the box that the order is expired and is no longer valid.
Okay, he's making that, we'll make that a motion.
I make a motion
Who
to
wants to make-
accept. I make a motion to accept the certificate of compliance for expiration for 91 Maple Springs Road.
Second.
To issue
Thank
it.
you. I have a second. All in favor, Michael, Kwame,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Alyssa, Ron,
Yes.
Sandy, yes. All right, is there anything else? I did, Dave, were you able to go down and look at those piers off of Winship, off of Burgess Point?
I have not. I'm planning to do that tomorrow, trying to get things geared up for the meeting today was basically what I had to focus on. So,
Well, there's a lot of with a lot of boo-boos out there.
yeah.
It's, you know, yep.
So I will look at that so that I can determine what the story is over there.
Somebody called saying someone put in new pylons on a pier down at that site over the weekend. So is there anything else?
Oh.
Nope, I don't have anything else.
Oh, the meeting for, I'm sorry, the meeting for Tahonet? Is that like a physical meeting?
Yes, it's a good point, Kwame. So yes, I did email everybody this notice on the appeal on site the DEP is going to be having to do their site visit. That's their normal procedure. As they go out, they do a site meeting with all the parties. They kind of take a look at the site and then get input from anybody that's concerned. And then they go back and they make their judgment call on how they're going to issue their superseding order of conditions. So yes, that is a meeting that anybody can attend, and it will be at the physical site.
Can you just?
So does everybody know how to get to 140 Tahonet?
Well, what I could tell you is what I'm going to do is find out where they're going to meet. And I would imagine that they're likely going to meet at the Makepeace headquarters and then go out to the site from there, which is kind of out and back of that. But I don't know that for certain. So once I know where they're going to meet, then I will relay that to everybody in case there's members that wish to attend that meeting.
Can you just tell me the date and time, please?
Right now, they've got it scheduled for June 2nd, which is a Wednesday. And I think the email said 10:30, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to go back and look at that.
Yeah,
But
I think it said 10:30.
Yeah.
So everybody got the email,
Yes.
right?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
No,
Today.
Alyssa, you did not.
No, I did not. David and I are having a love-hate relationship with.
Are you telling a fib, Lisa?
No.
It just came in. It came in right before the meeting is when I got
Yeah,
it.
but all my emails on Elisa's system go to her spam or junk mail or something. She doesn't get a
Because
lot
she
of
doesn't
my
really
emails.
want emails from you, Dave.
I guess
That's what I'm
not.
getting out of that.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Well, you probably either that or spelled it with a L and not an E.
Maybe.
Okay. Is that it?
I think so.
Move, we close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand and wave.
Yay!
I'll give you two.
Thank you,
mine.
everybody.
I give you the jazz hand.
Glad you were able to make it, Sandy.
Until June 2nd.
Glad you were able to make it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time out west.
Well, our friend will be released from the hospital hopefully tomorrow, so we'll be with him for another week. He's recovering from a kidney transplant. So once that's done, we'll go back to our home in Sandy Valley for a little bit, where I'll take the next meeting from.
Nice.
All righty.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Bye, everybody.
Friday.
Oh,
Good night,
as far as signing paperwork, if anybody wishes to do that, I will be in the office in the morning. So that's up to whoever. And if other people have other time frames that work better, just let me know and we'll figure it out.
I'll try to catch you in the afternoon.
I'll call
I
you,
won't be
Dave.
available.
In the morning. I'm working overnight, so I can probably get there first thing in the morning before I go home and snooze, because I'll need a little bit of rest after I get out of work.
For anybody who's thinking of the afternoon, I may have some site visits that I have to get out to, so don't show up without calling first, because I may not be there. So
I will call you.
okay.
Call as always.
Yeah, but don't call when you're already in the parking lot. Call me ahead of time, so that way.
Yes, I won't call you if I know you're not expected to be there. I'll call you from home. And
Okay.
say, okay, good, you're there. I'm going to come by.
All right. Sounds
All
good,
right.
guys. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everybody.
Don't stay up too late, Ron. All right.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Take it easy. Good night, Sam.